Hi there, Ryan Dotson with SurvivalSullivan.com. Today we're going to talk about some of the uses of a bandana and a Shemagh, which everybody knows what a bandana is. Shemagh is a little bit less known, but especially in the military, this is a piece of fabric that is used on a pretty regular basis, and I like it just because it's a bigger bandana. This one you can see is about 3 foot by 3 foot, so you got some size to it. That's going to give you some additional functions that you couldn't get out of a bandana. The biggest one that I like is using this as a full head wrap. You know, there's plenty of times where in a survival situation you want to avoid that sun beating down on you, especially if you don't have anything protecting your head like I do. And of course, you probably wouldn't have sunscreen with you. So this can actually be used to wrap your entire head and protect you from the sun, the wind. It helps give you some protection from the rain, and then if it's wintertime, it gives you protection from the cold as well. So you just simply fold it in half, corner to corner. Then we're going to flip it, put it down across your head just enough so that it kind of shades your eyes. Then you wrap it around like this and tie it in an overhand knot in the back, and that gives you complete protection from the sun, but you can still see what you're doing and function. So that's one of my favorite uses of this. Now, of course, you can also tie this just around your neck if you want to, which that's especially helpful if you're dealing with heat and you need to cool down quickly. If you're dealing with heat stress or heat stroke, you need to get something cool on your arteries here in your veins so that you can cool down your blood. And you dip this in some cold water and wrap that around your neck. It's going to be very, very helpful and functional. There are other first aid uses for this as well. You, of course, can roll this up and wrap it around a wound as a pressure bandage, and then tie that off, and that'll help stop the bleeding. Or if you move it a little bit further up on the limb, tie it off and then stick a stick in there and twist it. That's going to become a tourniquet, which I do like to warn people, if you plan on using a tourniquet, you better need it because you might lose that limb due to lack of circulation. But if you're worried you're going to bleed out, then obviously the tourniquet's the way to go. You can use this as an initial water filter. Of course, this by itself is not enough to get rid of bacteria and things like that. But if you're building your own water filter with charcoal and sand and rocks, excuse me, in a bottle, you can use this as an initial filter just to get debris out of the water as it runs through the fabric. So that's always nice. This can be used as a rain catch. And the way that you do that is you would tie the four corners to where it's laying flat or at a slight angle, and then put a stone right in the middle of it to weigh it down so that as the rain saturates the cloth, it's going to all run towards that center point where that stone is weighing down the center of it, and then you just have a container underneath it to catch any water. You can also use this to collect dew in the morning. If you have some tall grass around and you need a drink, you can wrap this around your pant leg, and as you walk through that grass, this is going to collect all that moisture, and then you can just wring it out and drink straight from that, because that's going to be pure moisture that's safe to drink. Aside from that, you can use this as a pack to carry. Say you're collecting nuts and berries and you don't want to smash them in your pocket. You can put them in the center here and then bundle this up, and then you've got your pack that you can carry that with you. You can also tie it on a stick and throw it over your shoulder for a hobo pack if you need to carry something a little bit heavier. And you can also attach a cordage to this, a rope to this, and raise it up more than 10 feet off the ground if you're worried about bears getting into your food or something like that. You can use this as cordage if you need to. You can cut off strips of this and use that as cordage if you don't have any other option. But of course, that's a last resort, because the more you cut off of this, the less material that you have to use. You can shred this up and use it as tinder, especially if you have any type of an accelerant with you, a liquid accelerant that you can put on this. That's going to flare up and stay burning for quite some time. You can use this as a signal flag, especially if you've got one that's a bright color. You want to try and stick to colors that are not found in nature. typically, so reds and bright oranges, things like that. You attach it to a long pole and just wave it back and forth as planes or helicopters come by, anybody that's looking for you. So that's always helpful. People don't think about it a lot, but you bring a pot with you out camping, and you set that in the fire. That handle's going to get pretty hot, and so using this as a pot holder is a smart idea. Getting back to first aid, you can use this as a sling to say you injure your arm or your shoulder. You can wrap this around the limb and then tie it back around your neck, and that'll hold that limb in place so that you're not injuring it further. You can also use this to tie sticks to an injured, like a broken leg or a broken arm, to create a splint so that you immobilize that limb and keep it in place. If you injure your eye, you can use this to cover up your eye so that you're, again, not injuring it any further. If we go back to how I had that tied around my neck, if you want to raise this up and tie it around there, you've got a dust mask if you're in the middle of a dust storm or something like that, sandstorm. And if it's cold outside, you can use this. You can roll it up and use this to wrap around your ears so that your ears are not getting frostbite, or you can just simply tie it around your head as a sweatband to keep the sweat out of your eyes if it's hot outside. Aside from that, as a very last resort, if you don't have anything out there that looks appealing, you can always use it as toilet paper. I try and avoid that if at all possible, because at that point you have to go wash it out before you use it again, but that is an option. So I think that covers the majority of the uses for this. They're only a couple of bucks. It's definitely worth having something like this in your bug out bag. So go grab one and try out some of the uses and get familiar with it so that if the time comes that you have to use it in an emergency, you're ready to do so. Again, with SurvivalSullivan.com, this is Ryan Dotson. I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.